some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Overtime. So we head to overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. AFC West family business for the Chiefs. You're looking to keep pace with the Oakland Raiders in case they slip up, and we know about the whole Derek Carr situation and how nothing's a certainty in Oakland these days. Now they have a chance to maybe slip up in Week 17 on the road versus this same Denver Broncos team. If you can find a way to win out, maybe you get your hands on that first round bye that you let slip through your fingers when you lost to the Tennessee Titans a week ago. So you want to bounce back, respond to that loss with a victory on Sunday night versus the Broncos, get the momentum back, and potentially put yourself in a position to strike if the Oakland Raiders should slip up. For the Denver Broncos, you're trying to stay alive. You're simply playing for your playoff lives, as the end of this season hasn't turned out the way that you've wanted it to. The offense has hit a mean struggle phase. They're struggling right now. The struggle is real in Denver offensively. Defense is still good, although it didn't look that way tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. It actually looked like a defense that had said, you know what, we quit. We've done all we could all season long. We finally give up. We're waving the white flag tonight. And that's what it looked like, and we'll get to that. But this has been the downfall of this team over the last month and a half or so. You could see the steady decline of this offense, and it's come to a head over the last 3 weeks, causing them football games and putting them in a position now where you either win or you're out. And so they had to go on the road to Arrowhead and beat a team that had already beaten them in Denver earlier in the season on this very same program, Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a tough task and a tough ask of a team struggling on the offensive side of football. But as we've seen throughout the course of this season, anything is possible in the National Football League, especially when you're talking about family business. But before we jump into this breakdown, make sure that you subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. We're changing the game. Want you to help us do that by simply subscribing to the channel Louie Tee Network on YouTube. Also, I'm on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Go ahead and like the Facebook page. All my social media platforms right there in the screen scrolling up, so you can't miss them. Go ahead and handle that. Like the Facebook page. Follow me on Twitter. Most importantly, make sure you subscribe on YouTube to the Louie Tee Network. That being said, let's jump into this breakdown, and we'll talk about the winners. To the victors go the spoils. As always, we'll start with the Kansas City Chiefs and what they were able to accomplish, going to 11-4 with this dusting off of the Denver Broncos, like the light dusting we got of snow throughout the course of this game, 33-10. This game was never close, and they jumped on the Denver Broncos. And this is a trend. Let's talk about this. This is a trend that I've seen from the Chiefs of late, getting off to fast starts and then waning after the fast start and losing the intensity that they start the football game with. And in past weeks, they don't score anymore. So against the Raiders, let's go all the way back to the Raiders win 2 weeks ago on a Thursday night. They jumped on the Raiders 21 points in the second quarter of that game. They had a commanding lead at the halftime break. Looked like they were going to run away with that game. Did not score another point in the ball game. Was able to hold on 21-13 for the victory. Let's go to last week versus the Titans. Jump out to a 14-0 lead. Was up as many as 14 at 17-3 before falling asleep behind the wheel, allowing the Titans to score, I want to say, 12 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to steal that game at what we get? 19-17, I believe the final score in that game was. I think they were up 17 to nothing in that game, as a matter of fact. In any event, these fast starts and then these slow finishes have cost them. It cost them last week. It hasn't cost them as often as it could, but it's a problem nonetheless. They get off to another great start, and it's no shame in getting off to a great start. 21 points. This game was over before it really even got started. They jumped out explosively. Tyreek Hill continues to be a freak, continues to show why he is making a serious case, and he's not going to win, obviously, because of Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, but he's making a case for Rookie of the Year. He's not going to win, obviously, like I just said, but he's making everyone around the league aware of who he is and what he's all about, and that's speed, pure, unadulterated speed of the highest quality. That touchdown, and that should not happen. You should not be able to get to the outside on a run like that. You should not be able to turn the corner. You should not be able to make defenders miss who have angles and score a touchdown there. That shouldn't happen, but it did because it's Tyreek Hill, and he's the fastest man in the league, and it's not even close. And he did it again. He did it again! And Travis Kelce, my goodness. He's so good at the tight end position. Love me some Travis Kelce. And he continues to show why he's one of the best tight ends in the entire National Football League. And I think it's pretty safe to say with Gronk being injured, I think Travis Kelce might be the best all-around tight end in the league. He sprung Tyreek Hill on the touchdown run with a huge block. His block was the one that keyed him and got him off to the races. And then he showed you what he could do as a receiver, catching the screen and taking off, making guys miss, darting in and out of traffic, and getting into the end zone, showing you some speed, showing you some moves. Had it going all night, showed you the hands all night long, catching the football. He was a huge problem for the Denver Broncos defensively, and he's a huge problem week in, week out. And so they jumped on the Denver Broncos, 21 points in the first quarter. They were up 21-7 at the end of one. You thought, oh man, here we go again. Denver could be in trouble, and then nothing in the second quarter, nothing in the third quarter, and you're thinking, I at least said, I don't think they're going to score many more points to my dad as we were watching the game. I said, it doesn't matter. Denver isn't going to score many more points. I said, normally, right around 10 to 13 points is the max for Denver. Of late, 10 is the most they can get. After the Jacksonville game, and remember, they beat Jacksonville 20-10, but 7 of those points came on a pick six by Bradley Roby. So you're talking about 13 points being responsible by the offense. They don't score much more than that a week now. They only scored 10 in a loss to Tennessee. They only scored 3 in the loss to New England last week, and they scored 10 again this week. They're offensively challenged, are the Denver Broncos. So when it was 21-10, I said I don't think they're going to score many more points. But if you're the Chiefs, you much rather be safe than sorry. Go ahead, put some more scores up on the board just to make sure. If they got any ideas of doing something a little frisky, you can say, hey, man, you're going to have to score more than just 7 or more than just 14 if you want to come back and take us down like we did to you in your building about a month and some change ago. So they were able to force a couple of turnovers, turn that into points, run the score up a little bit. And we all know about what they did at the end with Dontari Poe and the jump pass. Trust and believe the Broncos are not going to forget that one. And that was fun to watch. I always love big man with football. I tell you that all the time. But you got those guys down. You don't need the touchdown there. I think the Broncos are going to – and I saw Keep Talib talking to Eric Fisher, telling them that they didn't appreciate that touchdown at the end. So you're going to hear about that, and you're probably going to see some type of retaliation down the road. That's what it's all about, though. It's family business. These family members, they see each other 2 times a year. So, you know they're going to store that one in the back of the memory bank. They're not going to forget what happened to them tonight on Christmas as the Chiefs ran it up late in the ball game when they didn't have to. So, in any event, this is what makes the Chiefs different. And I've been talking about this, even though it's so frustrating because they have the ability to score more than they do. Like, for instance, tonight, where was Jeremy Maclin? I had to ask my dad at one point, was he even playing in the game? Because I didn't remember many targets for him. I saw the tight ends getting worked. I saw Tyreek Hill getting worked. I saw the running backs getting work, but I didn't see Macklin or Conley or Wilson or any of these other guys getting work at the receiver position. It didn't seem like they were using or utilizing these receivers at all in this football game outside of Tyreek Hill. So they could be a little bit more dynamic if they spread it around instead of trying to force feed the tight ends and try to force feed Tyreek Hill. And look, I'm all for getting Tyreek Hill the football. It is amazing how his role has grown in this offense from the beginning of the season when it was just, hey, let's try to get him in on a couple of plays and make sure that he's in on special teams, to now, hey, let's make sure he's touching the football as many times as we can, definitely on punts. And we got to have him out there at running back. We got to find ways to get him the football at receiver. We're going to run jet sweeps. We're going to hand it to him out of the backfield. We're going to put him in shotgun and hand it to him. We're going to do everything we can to get this man the football and some touches, which I totally get. But I would like to see them be a little bit more judicious with the facilitation of the football. Get everybody involved, because I think this offense has the ability to be a little bit more dangerous this year. And that's why I said they have something that they haven't had in the past. They've always been able to play defense. This goes back to 2 or 3 years ago. They were a dangerous team then because of their defense. Now they can be a dangerous team because of not only their defense and their special teams now with Tyreek Hill, but they can also bring a different element offensively. They've got something they haven't had in quite some time, and that's dynamic ability to strike quickly. This used to be a methodical, they gotta put together a 13-play drive to get into the end zone. That's no longer the case. You saw quick strikes tonight. You saw a quick wide receiver screen to the tight end, Travis Kelce, for a touchdown. You saw a simple run handoff to Tyreek Hill out of the backfield, and he murks for a touchdown, 60 some odd yards. You see the dynamic ability of this offense. They've got guys. They didn't even use Conley, who has speed. They didn't even use Macklin, who also can take the top off and make some plays and turn a small catch into a big play. They've got the ability to hurt you offensively now. It's all about consistency. They'll hurt you in the first or the second quarter, but they don't do anything in the third quarter. It seems like the third quarter is a dead quarter for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have to be better throughout the entire game and not just early and then falling asleep behind the wheel and allowing teams to stay in ball games. But they've got the ability to score more points now, and that's why I think this Chiefs team has a chance. I want to see more consistency out of them. But if they can find ways to score throughout the course of the game, not just in the first quarter or the second quarter, but score in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, even if it's only a field goal or two, keep putting points on the scoreboard. Keep distributing the football to all of your weapons. This could be a dangerous Chiefs team. They put up 33 on a good Denver Broncos defense. Now, granted, I think the Broncos at some point in their mind in this game said, you know what, we're done. I mean, some of those big plays early in the game look nothing like the Denver Broncos defense we've come to know and love. But that being said, the Chiefs are that good offensively to make those types of plays as well. Take nothing away from this Chiefs offense. They put up 33 tonight. That's impressive. Against the Denver Broncos team that hadn't been giving up. They stink on offense, but the defense is still good. Last week, they only gave up 16 to Brady and company. They put up 33 on those boys. Something has to be said about the explosiveness of this Chiefs football team. They can score, and that could be a reason why you should be concerned. If you're in the AFC in the playoffs looking to do damage, you should be concerned about this Kansas City Chiefs team this time around. You go to the Denver Broncos, and for me in this game, it was just frustrating to watch because you already knew the outcome of the game. Once they got down early, because of the offensive struggles, you knew they just weren't going to be able to battle back. They've got injuries. The offensive line hasn't been very good. They just haven't been able to sustain offense. They drop passes. They have penalties. They just shoot themselves in the foot. They make mistakes. They're not a good football team on the offensive side right now, and it's really hard to put your finger on it. Yeah, they've got injuries, but so do everyone else in the league. That's not an excuse. You got to find a way to overcome those. They just don't make any plays anymore. Everything is tough for this Broncos team, and I hate to say it, but they miss C.J. Anderson, and you don't really know what you've got until it's gone. And I know they were moving right along without him at one point, but C.J. Anderson does so many things that go unnoticed. He's so unheralded in that Broncos backfield, but yet when he's not there, you notice. He runs it, he catches, he blocks, he does all the dirty work, And his numbers are never flashy nor gaudy, but you look up and he's got 20 carries for 84 yards, and he caught another 5 passes out of the backfield for another 37 yards. One of those was for a touchdown. And he just contributes in so many different ways, and he's no longer there. And so those dirty, tough yards you need on 3rd and 2, or those dirty, tough runs you need on 1st down and 10, or 2nd and 7 to get you into 3rd and manageable, you don't have those anymore. Those big runs that you break off in cold weather games when it's snowing like this, you don't have them anymore. And so I think they really miss C.J. Anderson. You don't hear anyone talking about his injury, but this offense hasn't been the same since he's departed. And I'd like to think that he's not that big a part of the offense. You can replace him with Booker and whomever else you want to put in there, Justin Forsett, but it's not the same. It's just not. But in any event, I'm not putting this all on one person. C.J. Anderson's absence from this offense isn't why they're bad. They just don't make plays. They make too many mistakes, penalties, and drop passes and turnovers. They make too many mistakes as a football team. I mean, they even had a special teams blunder in this game on a fumble. They just make too many mistakes to the Denver Broncos, and the defense is the one that suffers because whether they're getting stops or they're creating turnovers of their own, like Justice Simmons did with a pick early in the game, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter because you're not good enough to sustain offense in this game, and it's going to come back on the defense to try to get stops and force turnovers and try to win the game on their own, and it's just hard to do in this league in this day and age. You can't be the 2000 Ravens anymore. You can't hold teams to 10 and 6 and 7 and win games. The league isn't set up like that anymore. You have to be able to score points. I just told you what they scored over the last 3 games. Okay? I just told you that they scored 10 against Tennessee, 3 against New England last week, and 10 in this game. 0-3 in those games. You're not going to win many games in this league scoring 10 points. Over the last 3 games, they're averaging less than 8 points a game. Let me repeat that. Over the last 3 games, the Denver Broncos, as a team, are averaging less than 8 points a game. Who are you going to beat scoring 8 points a game? Impossible. Impossible. And this was a Broncos team that we looked at and said, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I looked at it and I said, they're going back to the playoffs and they're going to try to defend their championship. Now, I didn't think it would be successful, but I said they're going to be there. They were once 8-4, right in the thick of things, right where they needed to be. Hell, they were right there in the divisional race until they lost to the Raiders on that Sunday night. And really, that's when their season started to take a nosedive. When they lost to the Raiders on that Sunday night, it was a battle literally for first place. Raiders made a statement, Broncos went and cowered in the corner, and the two teams have went in totally opposite directions since that game. The Raiders have ascended to the one of the league's best and have found themselves in a position where they've got a chance to not only get the number 2 seed and play a home game and get a bye, they got a chance to still get the number 1 seed and have home field advantage throughout in the AFC playoffs. And the Denver Broncos are now officially eliminated from postseason play with this loss at 8-7. So it's been the tale of 2 halves of the season for the Denver Broncos. First half, remember, they started this season 4-0. I mean, everyone was so surprised and shocked, including myself, at how they got out of the gates. No one expected them to be this good. I didn't. I thought they were going to be a 6-win team. I called them 6-10 before the season started. And here they were at 4 wins after the first 4 weeks. But then we started to see a couple of chinks in the armor. And then Trevor Siemian goes down. And then you got to put Paxton Lynch in. And then Siemian comes back, but he's not the same. And all of a sudden, C.J. Anderson goes down. And now the run game's not the same. And all of a sudden, you start struggling. And then Paxton Lynch has to come back in again because Siemian's hurt again. And then Siemian comes back. And all of a sudden, they can't score anything. And I mean nothing. And now you find yourself riding a 3-game losing streak at the absolute worst time of the season and putting themselves out of playoff contention. And tonight was no different. Siemian was bad. The offense was bad. There was no running game, no complement to what they were trying to do in the passing game. They made mistakes, penalties. The defense gave up huge plays early, which put them in a bad spot because they already struggled to score So you knew you needed to keep the score down, and you give up 21 right off the bat in the first quarter. Recipe for disaster for a team struggling to score points. And your final result is a 33-10 shellacking on Christmas Day at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's jump into your comments, see how you guys responded and reacted to this beatdown. Bossaholic says, your barber got some fire beats. Hashtag hit me with that mixtape. He's got plenty of mixtapes, man. I think I might have like 3 or 4 of them in my truck right now. Like he puts out mixtapes on a regular, so I definitely have those very accessible. Bossaholic says, I feel bad for the Broncos. Great defense and an injured, inexperienced offense. It didn't click for them down the stretch. And you want to see your offense get better. It's a young offense, especially with Trevor Siemian at quarterback. You'd like to see them get better. You know, Devontae Booker and you know, all these young guys. It didn't happen. It just did not happen for the Broncos. They actually got worse and regressed as the season progressed. Bossaholic says, KC is the one team no one wants to play against in the playoffs. I'm going to be real with this. If healthy, the Patriots will have a very tough time with them. I think so. And I told you last year, and I've said this at least 2 or 3 times. Last year in the playoffs, this Chiefs team wasn't as dynamic as they are offensively now. Their special teams wasn't as dynamic as it is now. And the Patriots struggled with them. Jeremy Maclin was basically playing on one leg last year, had nothing to really give in that AFC divisional playoff game. And they pushed the Patriots to the limit in that game. And they had a shot. And they just didn't have enough bullets in the gun. They got plenty of ammo this year. Plenty of ammo. The question is, do they know how to fire the gun? And can they fire that gun accurately and hit the target? That's the question. They've got plenty of ammo. Last year, they had no problems aiming. They just ran out of bullets. This year, they've got plenty of ammunition. Can they just steady their hand and aim the gun at the proper targets and fire? If they can do that, they're going to be a dangerous team come playoff time. Blue Rain says, I just found out my girl pours milk before the cereal and she won't stop it. This is a major problem. Should I break up with her? Hey, look, man, I'm going to be honest with you. Anybody that pours the cereal or the milk before the cereal, they got to go. It's not up for debate. No, I'm serious. I'm playing. Nah, man, that's weird. It's not a deal breaker, though. But why would you pour the milk before the cereal? I don't understand this. This concept baffles me. I need the cereal in my bowl because that's what I'm eating. If I want a glass of milk, pour some milk. I don't need a bowl of milk. I want cereal. So I need an explanation there. Somebody explain to me why it's a good idea to pour milk in your bowl of cereal first before you actually pour the cereal in. If you think that's a good idea, you need to wash your face. Get your mind right. What's wrong with you? Cereal first. Anyway, SoFlo Sports says, let's go. Fins up, baby. We playoff bound now. Dolphins deserve it, man. I can't wait to watch that game and see what the hell is going on because I thought for sure they were going to lose to the Bills, and they went out there and took care of business. So I'm anxious to watch that game. Ben Glassford says, now that my Fins are playoff bound, realistically, do you think we can beat Pittsburgh if Tannehill is back for the game? Already easily handled them in our game earlier this year. Totally different Steelers team, though. They're in a different place mentally, and this time it would be in Pittsburgh, not in Miami. So it'd be a different game, but I think you can run the football on them. I watched them again tonight, and I know if you watched that same game that I watched, you saw Kenneth Dixon giving them work on the ground. The Ravens had success running the ball, and if Jay Ajayi can do what he did to them the last time, which was eclipse 200 yards, you can beat them again. Why the hell not? But the question is, are you going to get that same Steelers team offensively? They were struggling on the offensive side at that time, and you heard Ben in that game. They're much better offensively than they were when you played them the first time around. But again, we'll see what happens when we get there. But that should be a great matchup if, in fact, that's what we get in the first round, which it looks like we're getting closer and closer to getting as we speak. Jay Moose says, is Jamal Charles going to play this year? No. They've already basically put him on the shelf. He just had surgery again. And I really think his career might be in jeopardy. I mean, how many surgeries have we had in the last 2 or 3 years? I mean, we got to be up there in the 3 to 4, maybe even 5 range. I mean, it's getting bad now for Jay Charles. I don't know if he's going to be able to play moving forward. I know he's not playing this year. Your boss says, what do you think about the Broncos with a trade of one of their cornerbacks? I don't know if they'll trade one of their cornerbacks. To me, that's the strength of your football team. You don't want to start picking away at your strengths to try to close up one of your weaknesses. I think you leave that part of your team alone because between the back end and the front end of your defense, you're elite. You start chipping away at one or the other, and now all of a sudden that defense isn't what it once was. Maybe you look at a guy that's getting up there in age like Aqib Talib. Maybe you move him. And you draft another guy. The Broncos seem to draft that position really well. I'm impressed with Justin Simmons at the safety position. You seem to do a really good job of bringing in talent in the secondary. So maybe you get something for Aqib Talib if you can. But bottom line is you need a quarterback. You need some offensive line help. You need to shore those areas up if you're the Denver Broncos first and foremost. And then you move forward. You hope that Devontae Booker is the back of the future, but I mean, you saw the nonsense he did on the fumble tonight. I mean, right now he's not getting it. So, trade one of your cornerbacks for what? That's the question. If it's a sweet enough deal, I'm pretty sure John Elway would listen. But I'm not getting rid of Harris Jr. nor Bradley Roby. They're too young and too good. Talib is the one guy that I think you could part ways with and feel good about that if you got the right return on that trade. SoFlo Sports says, when are you making the Bills-Dolphins recap? I got a lot I want to talk about. After I watch that game, it'll probably be sometime tomorrow early. I'm going to get up early and watch all those games. I got 4 games left to watch that I haven't had a chance to check out. You know, it's been crazy because it's Christmas and then the games came on a Saturday and, family, all of that stuff. So, it's been rough. I actually thought about not doing anything this week, and I said, nah, it's too ripe. Everybody's excited. Teams are winning. Browns won a game. Dolphins got a huge win in Buffalo. Too many big games this week to not do a breakdown, so I'll get to that probably tomorrow. Your boss says, how to beat the Chiefs. You beat the Chiefs, by stopping the run and forcing them to beat you through the air. That's number 1. Number 2, limit the big plays. This is, like I said, a team that struggles when they get into the red zone. You saw that tonight. Had to settle for some field goals in some spots. Don't let them hit you with a 66-yard wide receiver screen. Or, in this case, I think it was damn near 80 to Travis Kelce. Don't let them hit you with a run. 2 weeks in a row. Big runs by Tyreek Hill for touchdowns. Don't let them do that. Make them earn everything that they get. Because they struggle to score when they get into the red zone. Don't fall into the trap of trying to reinvent the wheel when you play the Chiefs. If something's working against them, stick with it. If you're having success running the football, keep running the football. If you're having success in the short passing game, keep throwing the football, getting it out of your hands, and not allowing those pass rushers to get to you. Biggest thing is you got to score when you get opportunities. If they make a mistake, they don't make them often, but when they do, you got to take advantage of it. You can't settle for a field goal. You got to score a touchdown. The Chiefs are a beatable football team. We've seen this. The blueprint is there. Buccaneers went to Kansas City and won. Low-scoring affair. Titans went to Kansas City and won. Low-scoring affair. You got to keep the totals down. Can't allow them any really big plays. And if you do, you got to turn off the faucet as soon as possible. Titans gave up some early points, turned the faucet off. Won the football game. Buccaneers gave up some points, turned the faucet off. End up winning the game late. Got to keep the Chiefs down scoring-wise. If they score 27, they're going to win because they're not giving up 27. So you got to find a way to keep them down in order to beat them. Dev Ticket says, is Travis Kelce a top 3 tight end in the NFL? Because he's also a beast and has been my favorite tight end for the last 3 years. I just told you, I think he might be the best tight end right now with Gronk out. All around, blocking and receiving, I think he might be the best tight end in the league. Straight up. The guy's really dynamic. Runs great routes, has great hands, can jump. Great run after the catch. He can even dance, man. There's not much to dislike about Travis Kelce. Straight up. Love this guy. Love the way he plays the game. Dev Ticket says, how do you think Week 17 ends for the AFC and the wild card? What will it be like? I look at the AFC, and I think it's pretty much etched in stone in terms of who's getting in. The question now becomes, where are these 6 teams seated? I think the Patriots, now that the Dolphins are in, I don't think the Dolphins can do anything to elevate their seeding. So don't know how that game's really going to go. The Patriots have a lot on the line. Dolphins don't. If you're the Dolphins, you're not worried about beating the Patriots, even though you'd like to. You're more worried about Jay Ajayi leaving that game against the Bills with a little bit of a injury. It's a little minor injury. Why play him in Week 17? You don't need to. Let him rest. You gave it to him 32 times versus the Bills. Let him rest this week. So maybe they will. I see the Patriots holding on to the number 1 seed. I see the Raiders holding on to the number 2 seed. Even though they can go to Denver and lose, I don't know what the Broncos have to offer now. Are they really geared up to go and play spoiler, or are they saying, all right, yeah, we didn't get it done this year, maybe next year? A lot of veterans on that team. We'll see what they bring to the table. They could easily beat the Raiders, and the Chiefs could win, and the Chiefs could be your 2 seed. I don't think I see that happening, though. I think I see the Raiders holding on to the number 2 seed. So then you go to the 3 seed, Steelers locked in. They're going to be your 3 seed. 4 seed, probably going to be the Houston Texans. I pretty much think that's locked in as well. And then your 5 seed looks like it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. And then your 6 seed going to be the Miami Dolphins. So you know your 6 teams now, where they're going to be seated, pretty much etched in stone there. Bottom line, we'll see what happens. You know, the Chiefs have something to play for. The Patriots have something to play for. The Raiders have something to play for. You got teams that still have seeding on the line. So that's what I think, though. Bossaholic says, speed is a drug and Tyreek Hill is the plug. No doubt about it. You know who the plug is. There's no questions to be asked here. Alex Burnden says, taking bong rips to celebrate Dolphins making it to the playoffs. Hashtag fins up. Hey, you stay hitting the bong, man. But that's all love, man. Go ahead and do your thing. The fins are in, man, and you guys deserve it. You earned what you have gotten. Some big wins down the stretch to put you in this position that, frankly, I didn't see happening. And I know a lot of you guys felt really disgruntled and upset and disappointed when Tannehill went down. I told you, never fear. Matt Moore is here. And he's come in and he's steadied the ship. And Jay Ajayi continues to be a monster. And so you're in. And the defense has played solid. Not great. They got torched on Sunday. I can't wait to watch. But you did enough. You did enough. And so now I want to see how they were able to achieve that victory and what to expect from them as they get into the postseason. Bossaholic says, you can tell Don Terry watched the Cavs versus the Warriors game today with that shot. Man, he had some great follow-through on that touchdown pass, didn't he? Boy, that jump shot was wicked. It was right on the money. Boy, yeah, he watched him some b-ball today, and he was ready. He was open for the 3, and he didn't miss when he got his shot. Dev Ticket says, will Denver be able to fix the run defense and offensive line in free agency and the draft? I am a Giants and Browns fan. Sure they can. Now, the thing about the run defense is they're missing some key guys that they had a season ago that are no longer there. You know, Jarrett Crick is a backup rotational defensive end, a 5-tech, not a starter. That's a problem. It's a big downgrade from what you had a season ago when you had guys like Jackson in there holding it down and Danny Trevathan and company behind him at linebacker. They've got to get everybody back on the same page, and they've got to get a little bit more stouter up front. And that was the problem this year, and I think they can address that. And then on the offensive line, I think that's something that does need to be addressed. Both of their tackles aren't any good. Stevenson isn't very good. I think Okung is okay at best. I'm not overly impressed with him. The interior has been okay. It's not great, but I think that's going to take a little bit more effort than the run defense will. And so we'll see what happens in the offseason. BE says, hey, Lou, hope you and your family had a great Christmas. We did. Hope yours did as well, man. Mine was awesome. Awesome. Ed says, Miami Dolphins are in the playoffs. Hashtag fins up. Let's go Dolphins. And I hope you're having a good Christmas. Indeed, I am, man. I did have a great Christmas. Looking forward to watching the rest of these games. Sherlock Homeboy says, are the Chiefs Super Bowl bound or the Donkeys suck? I can't tell what it is. The Chiefs are good. Look, the Broncos aren't what they were last year, much like the Panthers aren't what they were last year, much like the Arizona Cardinals aren't what they were last year. It's just how the league goes. One year you're up, the next you're down. But the Chiefs are legit. Are they Super Bowl bound? I can't answer that. But are they legit? Are they a serious contender? You damn right they are, and they've got everything they need to compete. Now the question is, can they be consistent, and can they do the things necessary to win football games come playoff time? We shall see. RG3, hashtag smoking at 3, hashtag 1000 says, both Super Bowl 50 teams, Panthers and Broncos, are out of the playoffs. And that's the first time it's happened in quite some time. But that just goes to show you the parity in the league. 1 minute you're up, the next you're down. This league takes no mercy on anyone. You could be the hottest thing since sliced bread like the Panthers were last year, and you could be bottom dwellers the next. That's the way this league works. And that's why it's so hard to sustain and have consistent and sustained success. Longevity is the key, and that's why everybody looks at the Patriots in awe because of what they've been able to do for such a long time, because it's so hard to remain atop of your division and around the Super Bowl just about each and every single year. It's hard to maintain that kind of play. That level of consistency is just insane in this league and rarely achieved, and yet the Patriots seem to do it year in, year out. Protect428 says, got the Chiefs beating New England and ending the Pats Super Bowl aspirations. It could happen. And I talked about the Chiefs, and that's why that Tennessee game was so frustrating, because I actually talked about the Chiefs and their ability to potentially get home field advantage throughout. And I said if they could win the AFC West and sneak a number 1 seed, what that could really mean for them. And the fact that they lost to the Titans really hurt them. And I don't see them doing that now, but we'll see what happens. No doubt about that. RG3, hashtag smoking at 3, hashtag 1000 says, can the Dolphins make it to the postseason since the Broncos and Ravens are out? The Dolphins clinched the playoff berth tonight. With the loss by the Broncos, the Dolphins are in. So, yep, they're in. Alex Burnett says, who do you think should start for Miami in the playoffs, Tannehill or Moore? I think Tanny will be ready. If he's ready and he's healthy and they're confident that he can get the job done, you put Tannehill back in. It's his job. He's the starter. Moore has done what you asked him to do, which is get you there. And I told you he could do that. One thing about backups, you don't want to overdo it. They're backups for a reason. I told you Matt Moore can steady the ship for a 2 to 4 week stretch. Don't ask him to do more than that. That's when he'll start to get sloppy. He's a backup. That's what backups do. Let Matt Moore do what he was asked to do and called in to do, and that's steady the ship for 2 to 4 weeks. If Tannehill's ready, come playoff time, you turn the reins back over to him. I understand Matt Moore's playing solid. He's got the hot hand. He's been the one playing of late. But Tannehill, if healthy, you give him the reps. You feel good about him. You stick him out there. You tell him, let's go. Because he needs the experience. Even if you don't play well, even if the Dolphins go one and done, he needs that playoff experience. He's never been there before. He needs to taste what it's like to play playoff football. That's the only way you're going to get experience, is to actually play in the game, not watching on the sideline and taking mental reps and notes. He needs to get out there and play in playoff football. So whether they win or lose, he needs that experience. Protect428 says, will the Raiders win a playoff game without the 4 card? It's possible, depending on the draw. Obviously, they need that first round bye, worse than anybody in the league now. The Falcons have a chance to get a first round bye. They don't need it. They can go and win a game in Wild Card Weekend. The Raiders do not want any part of Wild Card Weekend, because if they can avoid a game, and I'm not saying Derek Carr will be back by the time they come off the bye, but what it does do is it starts to set up a situation where, who knows, maybe they get the Texans coming off the bye. They can beat the Texans. Maybe they get a Dolphins team that upsets someone, and Who knows? Well, no, they probably wouldn't get the Dolphins because the highest seed left goes to the number 1 seed. So, or the lowest seed in that case would be the Dolphins. If they're the 6th seed, they would go straight to New England. So, in any event, they might get a favorable matchup coming off the bye. Whereas if you play in wild card weekend, you might end up somewhere you don't want to be. Or in the case of the Raiders, if they didn't win their division, they go straight to 5. That would put you in a matchup versus Houston on the road. You probably could win that game, but maybe you won't. Maybe it'll be different this time. Instead of the game being in Mexico City, you're going to be in Houston. Maybe you don't win the game this time. Who knows? I don't think they're going to win a game without them. Put it that way. Protect428 says, can the Dolphins give the Steelers a hard time? They sure can. They already beat them once, so there's nothing to stop them from doing it again. Protect428 says, what would the Broncos do to improve their football team? The biggest thing they can do right now for me is upgrade the offense. Offensive line and quarterback are the 2 positions that I see that need to be addressed. And I actually don't think Trevor Siemian is that bad, but he hasn't been that good of late either. I think his last good game was against the Titans. He got no help from his team whatsoever in that game. He actually played well against the Titans. I don't think he's played well the last 2 weeks against New England and in this game. And I think those are the 2 positions, offensive line and quarterback, that could take this team right back to a Super Bowl contender right away. You know, you get a veteran in there, and I know the name that keeps resonating is Tony Romo. Be a perfect spot for him to go, honestly. A veteran team ready to win now at the point where Tony is in his career. If he can just stay healthy, problem is behind that offensive line, he won't stay healthy. So you're going to have to address that if you're going to have a guy like Tony Romo come in there. RG3 hashtag smoking at 3 hashtag 1000 says, should the Broncos sign Johnny Football? For what? What does that solve? What has he done in this league? Nah. Protect428 says, remember when I talked about the Broncos in the preseason? Hate to say I told you so, but I told y'all so. Hashtag Protect Sports. Hey, look, man, ain't nothing wrong with saying I told you so. I do it all the time. It's one of my favorite pastimes. When you're right about something, let everybody know you were right. That's the point about making. Now, look, when you're wrong, also gonna have to beat you up about it. But hell, you're right about something, make sure everybody know you're right. What's the point of being right if you're not gonna tell everybody you were right? Ben Glassford says, do you think it's realistic that the Broncos pursue Tony Romo this offseason? Yeah, why not? They want to win. The thing that's crazy in this league, you hear people talk about this all the time, is there's a window. You hear about this window, this imaginary window. It's closing. On this Broncos defense, is the window closing? Maybe, maybe not. But why not take advantage of this team while the defense is good? You don't know how long it's going to be good for. So if you got to get another rental like you did with Peyton Manning to try to win, so be it. Take advantage of this opportunity, this window of opportunity while it exists. Because once it's gone, you're going to be back in the rebuilding phase. You're going to be back in the middle of the pack with all these other teams. Mediocre defense, mediocre offense, searching for answers. And there, you won't have an elite facet of your team. You got one now on the defense. Take advantage of that while you can. Go get Tony Romo. Go get some kind of veteran that you think can get you over the hump. And maybe it's not even a veteran like that. Maybe it's Mike Glennon. And we sit here and we talk, and I'm talking about quarterback. I can't speak for you guys. But they do have a rookie on the roster that they really like in Paxton Lynch. The likelihood that they go out and get someone to get in front of him may be slim to none. And they might say, all right, Paxton, we're going to give you the keys to this car, this Bronco car. Drive it and drive it effectively. So we'll see what happens. Daniel Primrose says, will the Steelers sit their starters next week? If there's nothing to gain by playing, why would you play them? I think a lot of teams are in that position. The Texans are in that position. I think the Dolphins might be in that same position. If there's nothing to be gained by playing your starters, if you can't elevate your status, and the Steelers can't get to the 2 seed, they can't get to the 1. If you're the 3 seed and you can't fall down to the 4 with the loss, there's no reason to play any of the killer bees at all. Robert Contreras says, Raiders Broncos is like backup versus backup. It could be. Broncos have no reason to play their backups, though. They're just looking to win a ball game. So we'll see what happens there. Brian Emerson says, just realized you did the Cards Seattle match Hashtag DJ for Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah, I thought you were there when I did it. I thought you had at least one comment there, but maybe I'm thinking of something else. Protect428 says, what teams in general will sit starters in Week 17? Hard to say because I got to do more homework on what the actual playoff scenarios are, and I'll do that after Monday's game with Detroit. I'll pretty much be able to sit down and figure out who's going to do what, what's on the line, what's the mentality and philosophy of the head coach. Do they believe in resting guys? Are they going to come out and be aggressive still? Hard to say right now, but there are a lot of teams that I believe are stuck, are fixed in their playoff seeding. And because of that, you could expect some teams to say, you know what, not risking on one of my players in Week 17. You can see a lot of teams playing some backups. Blackbird Blitz says, when can we expect your postseason picks? Right around when the postseason takes place. Protect428 says, happy holidays, big dog. Much love, my dude. Enjoy your holiday season. Expect much more from you in 27. I can't wait, my man. 100. Appreciate that, man. No doubt, Protect. Really appreciate all the support you give me as well. BE says, I need a Dallas win to get to 10-6 for my picks. I haven't even looked at mine, but I think they got to be funky, man, because a lot of craziness went down on Saturday. So, I will check my picks and see where I am as far as what I have to do to potentially get to double digits or not, if I even have that as a possibility after all the nonsense that went on Saturday. Ed says, do you think Romo is going to be in Denver next season? It's a possibility. We've talked about that a couple of times already tonight. It's definitely a possibility. T. Little says, Seahawks season over after Lockett injury? No, it's not over. You just got to find guys to step up. I talked about Richardson last year when I broke that yesterday when I broke down the Seahawks and the Cardinals game, that a guy like Richardson is going to have to step up, make some plays. They need speed out there. He's a guy that has it. Paul Richardson going to have to step up and show why they spent the early draft pick on him a couple years ago. T. Little says Raiders suffered the worst blow. Indeed, they did. That's one of those ones that's going to be hard for them to overcome. I know I hear Raiders fans talking about Matt McGloin and how he can come in and he's tough-minded and he's all of those things, but he's not Derek Carr, and that's the problem. Simple as that. Brian Emerson says the Cardinals own Seattle and Seattle under BA. We are 3-1 and 3-0 with Palmer playing quarterback. That's impressive going into Seattle the way that they seem to be able to do. Them and the Rams know something about Seattle that few teams in this league do. And they've been able to win. T. Little says, real quick, who wins Lions-Packers game? Check me out on Wednesday. I'll have all my picks for you on the final episode of Louie Tee Live. So check me out on Wednesday for that. RG3 hashtag smoking at 3 hashtag 1000 says, look at the Browns players that leave the Browns and sign with other teams, and players are better than they did with the Browns. Just all about scheme and fit. You know what I mean? You put a player in the right scheme and the right fit, and it can really elevate their play. I always talk about guys being in the right system, and that's pretty much an example of that. Brian Emerson says, I think I was, and then my phone died. I don't remember. Maybe that's the case, because like I said, I thought I saw you comment once or twice. Dev Ticket says, do you think the NFL will add another seed to the playoffs so the number one seed only has the bye, and so that will make the playoffs more exciting? And how would the playoffs look this year if it happened? I wouldn't do that. I told you, I'm a purist. I like it the way it is. You need to be one of the best 6 teams to get in. Simple as that. I don't think they need to do anything to touch it, to tamper with it, to enhance it. None of that. Leave it alone. It's 12 teams getting in, 6 in each conference. Don't water down the postseason. Leave it as is. T. Little says, am I the only one who picked the Browns? I doubt it. I think some other people might have snuck the Browns in there, but maybe you were. We'll see. Protect428 says, will the Giants sit their starters versus the Redskins? It's possible. Again, got to find out if they have anything at stake by playing on Sunday. Right now, it's looking like they don't, but we'll be able to sit down and talk about that in depth on Tuesday. Brian Emerson says, Seattle has 6 losses in Seattle under Russell Wilson, 3 of them being to the Cardinals. And again, that's why I said it's impressive what they've been able to do to Seattle, in Seattle, them and the Rams. So that's going to do it for this edition of Sunday Night Football Overtime. the Kansas City Chiefs destroy the Denver Broncos, not only in this game, but their hopes of making the postseason with their 33-10 victory. They go to 11-4 on the season, remain a game back of the Oakland Raiders. A slip up by the Raiders on Sunday next week in Week 17, and a win by the Chiefs in that very same week will give the Chiefs the AFC West and a first-round bye. And so they did their part this week. We'll see what happens next week. Broncos eliminated from postseason play with this loss. 3 losses in a row puts them at 8-7 and out of playoff contention. After winning the Super Bowl, they will not get an opportunity to defend their crown come postseason time. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join your man Louie Tee as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I thank all of you for watching and commenting. This has been your man Louie Tee and Sunday Night Football Overtime. Enjoy the rest of your holidays, as I will. I thank you again for joining me. God bless and good night. See you next time. Have a good one.
Broncos won the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning retired. 49ers won 5 games and Tom Sula got fired. RG's in Cleveland and my Rams hit the West Coast. Be sleepless in Seattle cause that 12-man ain't beast mode. Oh yeah, I knew it was something I forgot to mention. Yeah, old Tom Brady about to get that suspension. Yeah, I know the Pats